Hey, what it is, what it do, PD Grizz, how are you? I am fantastic, and I'm gonna do a tiny little video here on a old vintage classic, actually a Bijou technically, and the Wenger Esquire, and compare them as they are the comparable models from the big two of Swiss Army knives, the only two of Swiss Army knives, really. But let's start with the Esquire. This is a cool trans purple, translucent, trans, whatever you want to call it. You know, I'm pro trans, let people have a happy life. And this is a translucent, it's beautiful. Purple knife. Purple is one of my favorite colors. It's just a very regal color. Love it. Got the painted on printed logo. You can see all the mechanisms in there. You can see, if you pull the toothpick out, you can see how I'm not going to get that out right now, but you can actually see how the springs interlock and work off of each other, which is super cool. So this is a 65 millimeter knife. So you get a slightly longer blade. You get a little more reach out of it than you do with your 58 millimeter knives from Victorinox. I think 65 millimeters is a great size. I carry Wenger Esquires more often than I carry Victorinox Classics because I do prefer the slightly larger size. You've got the 4-line tang stamp of Wenger with the crossbow, Switzerland, Delamont, stainless, yada, yada, yada. Fantastic. Delamont is the town in Switzerland where Victorinox builds their Delamont series. That is the old Wenger factory. The main Victorinox factory is located in Ebach, Swiss. This one has the nail file with the nail cleaning tip, no screwdriver on these, which I prefer if I'm just going to have the one layer mini knife, because the main thing I want out of it is the nail cleaner, because nobody likes being like on a date or something like that and having dingy nails. And then we've got the cool Wenger lever, cam, whatever you want to call them, action scissors. Lever action torsion bar, I've heard them called, but it's a lever action. A torsion bar actually works by twisting over its length. This isn't a torsion bar. Torsion bar, this spring works laterally, not rotationally. But great scissors, slightly bigger, very comparable to the scissors on the 74 millimeter Victorinox. Then we've got this little guy, which I like a lot. This originally had black scales from an old oil drilling company in Louisiana. Can't recall their name at the time, but the scales were barely hanging on for dear life. And I had a signature that I bought with that had these scales on it with a broken blade, but I just wanted the trans green scales. And so I put the old aluminum tipped tweezers from the old classic in there. Does not have a toothpick, but it does have a little pressurized ballpoint pen, and that ballpoint pen works just fine in a pinch. And in the unlikely event that you don't know this trick, you pull out the nail file, and that gives you a little bit of leverage to use it and make it feel somewhat like a normal pen. It can be a little awkward trying to write with a little nubby like this. Since the back's not resting, your penmanship kind of gets a little wonky, but very cool nonetheless. The main blade, only blade, has the horizontal 4-line tang stamp as the other, but this one's cool. It's from pre-1973. So we get the Victoria and the crossbow on the back, which is the era of Swiss Army knives that I mainly focus on at this time. So the 57 to 73 era is my prime real estate in my collection. we've got, that's the blade again. So we've got the nail file, which is just the same blade stamp out, but turned into a nail file instead of a blade. You'll see they actually line up with each other perfectly. They're not separately, you know, they're cut out the same, and then one goes into a separate line of processing to become a nail file. The other goes into a separate line of processing to become the blade. But you'll notice as that this has the cross-cut nail file. And in the 70s, they switched to a granulated sandpaper emery board type texture. I actually do prefer that generally. I don't like their newer crosscut files, like on the Cadet or the Sportsman. They're a little too coarse for me, but I find this one actually works very well. It's a much more refined file, not as coarse. It still removes material, but it doesn't have the tendency to tear the ends of your fingers up like the other ones do and cause hangnails and stuff like that. That's a big problem with those other knives. But there you go, a modified Bijou from the 60s, maybe early 70s. I think this is in the 60s, though, based on, I forget the company that was on the scales originally, but the scales were busted. But I think I looked into them and found out that they went out of business in like 1971 or something like that. So that would put this firmly in the 60s, thereabouts. So there's another couple of little tiny knives, little cute little guys. And I'm going to get back to doing what I do, and I will see you in the next one. Everybody take care of themselves, be safe, and keep the people of Ukraine in your prayers as I am. And I will see you in the next one. Petey Grizz out.